So last week in our electrical installation, we decided on what our goals were for the new installation. We decided to work with Ocean Planet Energy to help us figure out and design the system. So this week we approved their proposal, and they actually sent us a very detailed system design diagram that we can actually use to begin the installation. So let's real quick break down the system design that Ocean Planet Energy sent us. So to start off with, here we've got the two Lithionics lithium batteries, and they are connected to the BMS, or the Battery Management System. Coming off of the charge bus, first of all, is the future solar that we plan on installing here shortly. But we also have our gigantic HPI 360 amp alternator, and that alternator is regulated by the AP500 regulators. Now, another big source of charging is going to be the Victron Multiplus inverter charger. It charges the batteries when we're connected to shore power, but it also takes 12 volt electricity from our batteries and converts it into 110 AC, which is the normal electricity that you have in your house. Now, the BMS has safeguards in place to make sure that if anything goes wrong in the system, the BMS will shut down and protect the batteries, protect the system. But there's a redundant safeguard in place, which is this relay. And the BMS is constantly telling that relay, happy, 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 happy. And as long as it's sending that everything is okay signal, then the relay allows the alternator and the inverter charger to do whatever they want to do. But the moment that the BMS stops sending that happy signal, everything is okay, then that relay just shuts everything down. So it's kind of like a redundant safety measure. We've got the DC to DC converter down here. We have lithium for our house bank, but the starter battery is still going to be an AGM battery, because that is one limitation of lithium batteries. They're not the best at starting an engine. But that little AGM starter battery is not going to be able to handle the huge output of this giant alternator. So the best way to handle that is basically to have the house bank charging the starter battery, and it does that through this DC to DC converter. Finally, we have here our battery monitor, which actually receives the information about the flow of current and everything else from the shunt down here. And so that, in a nutshell, is the whole system design. Right now for us it's September, and it's starting to get colder out, and we really want to try to make the Annapolis boat show, and so that's coming up here very shortly. So to help me wrap my head around this design, as well as to help us actually make our deadline of sailing out of here before winter is upon us, we decided to hire Robin Hood Marina here to help us with the installation. And to lead up that project is the manager of the marina, Neil Collins. I'm just gonna do number 2, and then you can walk us through this.
Yep, just let me know when you're done.
Yeah, so what are we looking at over here?
We have the components that are going to be the elements of the engine charging, motor charging, one of which is the HPI 360 alternator, which is this beautiful piece of gear. The size of the body is very similar to the size of the alternator that's already on the motor, so it actually will fit without having to modify too much. It's going to require a new pulley on the water pump and on the crankshaft, the main shaft, so that the belt will run at a certain speed. You set all the ratios so that you get the best output from the alternator at the usable RPMs of the motor, or how you're likely to use it. These loose. Get all the paint off these nubbins here so that the pulley sits flat.
Gotcha.
This is what I like to do. On the days that I'm having a bad day, I'm like, screw it, I'm getting a van, I'm just fixing boats for a living. So I'm very happy with the way the belts fit on the motor. The crank pulley bolted to the front of the motor is going to describe the plane in which all the rest of these pulleys have to align to.
Gotcha.
What I'm finding right off the bat is that the water pump pulley is too close to the motor. 3.66 millimeters, that much offset, pretty much right here.
Gotcha.
So we'll call Ocean Planet and have their machinist make up the offset pulley for that. That's nice and snug. We have the alternator in line with the crank pulley with 2 of the shims that they sent, which are 1.22 millimeters each.
And so now the actual alternator company is going to make like a custom pulley?
That's how I understand it, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, cool, moving right along then. There's no components from our existing system that will play nice with any of the new components that we're installing and vice versa. So we basically have to remove everything from the old system before we can really commission the new one. We got Scott in the house. He's gonna be helping us out with removing some of the old equipment. He works here at Director Robin Hood Marina. So my first task with this project was to go through the whole system and basically start to design how all of these elements that have huge amounts of electricity flowing through them are going to connect together. The big safety concern when it comes to electricity is fire. When electricity flows through a wire or flows through a conductor of any kind, it generates some heat because there's always some resistance. But the goal is to have those wires and those conductors all be sized big enough so that the amount of heat is fairly minuscule. It's not going to cause a fire. The issue being that if something goes wrong with a circuit that even was designed appropriately in the first place, you can get more electricity flowing through that circuit than was initially intended. And so say you've got an electric device that takes 30 amps. Well, if you put a fuse into that circuit that will blow or break the circuit at 40 amps, then you are successfully making sure that that device will always get the amount of electricity that it needs. But if something were to go wrong, more electricity flows through than is meant to, the fuse pops, and now there's no way that electricity can flow through the circuit at all. Let's say we're trying to figure out the fusing and the wire size for the DC to DC charger. Now, one of my favorite tools that I've been using here is the wire size calculator from boathowto.com, which is the website that we've talked about in the past that has some really awesome courses on boat electrical systems. So the cable run, both the positive and the negative, is 15 feet. So I'm going to put that in here, and the device is going to be running 40 amps max, and it tells us that we need 6 gauge wire. That's the size of the wire to connect this one circuit. In order to fuse that appropriately, we're going to just take the max amperage of the circuit and we're going to increase that by anywhere from 125% to 150%. 150% of 40 amps is 60 amps. So we're gonna go with a 60 amp fuse. Now that's pretty simple for a relatively small load like the DC to DC converter. But let's try the same thing with something huge like the alternator output cabling. So the alternator is a 360 amp alternator. Now it's being programmed so that the max output that it could possibly put out is 300 amps. The cable run, which we measured it out, and it's 30 feet. Then we're going to do the electrical load of 300 amps. One thing to note here is that the insulation is in the engine compartment. So I'm going to click that. It's a lot hotter in there than it is in any other part of the boat. And so we want to take that into account to kind of know that the ambient temperature will be higher. So I hit calculate and boom, it says there are no gauge wires available. The largest gauge wire that we can get is 4/0 cable, and even that won't handle this load over that distance. But if we look up here, we can see we need 136 square millimeters. That's the cross section of the cable. That's like this. So we know that we're gonna need 2 cables that if we add up their cross-sectional area, that it will equal 136 millimeters or greater. We could potentially get away with 2 2-aught cables, but that's just under the 136 square millimeters that we need, so we decided to go with 2 3-aught cables. So the most sensible fuse for us to use is a 400 amp fuse, because 400 divided by 300 is 133%. So that's right there within that range of between 125% and 150% of the load. So we've got dual 3-aught cable and we've got a 400 amp fuse for that circuit. Boats do catch on fire. It is a thing. And the majority of times that boats catch on fire and there's this devastating event, most likely what happened is of those thousands of circuits, just one of them wasn't thought out right and wasn't installed right. So you can do 999 circuits perfectly and then do one imperfectly, then you can have a fire on your hands. So that's the sort of thing, it's like I'm just sort of meticulously grinding through this and double checking because I want to make sure that at the end of the day, I don't have to worry about fire. Really, a lot of the components of this new electrical system have to be interconnected, and everything's connected to cables, and those cables are giant and they need giant fuses. And so that's what I'm working on here, is actually where are all of those components and connections going to occur. So over there in that seat below the nav station is where we're going to have 80 to 90% of the new electrical installation. And so I'm just gonna kind of mess around with laying things out so that it'll all work happily together. All right, so I had set it up where I thought it was like gonna work, and then I talked to Neil and he was like, nope, do it completely differently. And so what do you think of this now, Neil?
No, I like it because the orientation of the wires, you know, it's letting gravity give you a better chance of them not coming loose.
Yeah, they all approach vertically. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And so they're going to be coming up through the panel, through the bottom of the floor, and arcing up, and they're going to land on these guys, and they're going to have a fair run.
So then this basically looks good to you?
Yeah, it looks really good.
Cool. Alright, so I've finished installing all the stuff onto this backing board, and I just realized that I forgot that I was going to put the box for the GFCI breaker sideways so that the negative bus bar could be as high as possible. Okay, cool. Well, only messed up once, so that looks good. The next step is I've got to actually mount the GFCI breaker inside of this box. And then I've got to cut a little aperture into the faceplate of this box so that the breaker switch actually pops out of the box so that we can reset that breaker if we ever need to. Okay, well, today is an exciting day because we finish these backboards. These are the 2 positive bus bars. One of them is for charging, one of them is for the loads. And each bus bar has 2 T-fuses for the alternator output, the inverter, got a T-fuse for the positive side of the battery. The T-fuses are rated for 400 amps. And so to be able to convey 400 amps from right there to right there, we would need like a 4-aught cable with 2 terminals on it. But there's no room to make that kind of a cable right here. So what we're gonna do instead is I bought some copper bar stock that's tinned on the outside. So I'm just gonna cut these into little links, drill holes in them so that we can effectively just connect the T-fuses to the bus bars. Because the bus bars and the T-fuses are not exactly at the same level. There's about an 1/8 of an inch difference in the height. So I'm just gonna basically bang 2 different angles into these pieces so they can compensate for that. Okay, perfect. 1 down and basically 5 more to go. All right, so today is a big day because we have finished the backboards. In fact, Scott installed this really cool plexiglass cover over the positive buses so that we don't run the risk of shorting out the system when we store stuff in that locker or if we're working in there. And so once we put these in, we're off to the races to wire everything up, which is very, very exciting. And then meanwhile, we got Neil over here, and he is basically working on creating a little cable run through the bulkhead from the battery compartment to our new electrical compartment.
Since we have a fair quantity of large diameter cables coming through, we're going to make access through this bulkhead here into the battery, into the equipment space that we've designated, and through the stringer here close to where the other ones run, to keep all these cables running neatly from the engine space and keep the length of the cables down as much as possible.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm gonna open these up to a reasonable size and then make sort of a longish oval, just because as these cables pass through, they have to have a certain diameter to them, and I want to make sure that they're not pinched and we're not having to drag them through and damaging the covering as we get them up into the space here.
Sure.
It's like wrestling a python. So. We now have a giant oval.
Nice.
No wires were harmed in the making of this video.
Neil, you drill one hell of a hole there, buddy.
I'm known for it, thanks. So I've got this split loom that we use for protecting wire runs and whatnot. It makes a really good chafe protector for holes.
All right, today is a big day. We are gonna start running some of this giant cable. How you feeling today? You ready?
Feeling limber?
Yeah.
Feeling present? Your stern isn't well.
Right.
All right, one pair down. We are living right because we have both of these giant cables running through everywhere, where all that time we spent making the new access paid off. Because we are already run. That's great.
Yeah, it feels good. There's been so much time and effort in the planning phase, and we finally, there's stuff in there. You know what I mean? There's big new things going through the boat, and that's good.
And you got to cut that wire.
And I cut the hell out of that wire. I don't want to make it like an inch longer than it needs to be, though, because that inch is like $50.
Really?
No, that's a lie. That'll be another $20, please.